A warning light comes on, and suddenly your whole day changes. Instinctively, your mind jumps to breakdowns, expensive repairs, and worst-case scenarios. That reaction is normal, but it's often misplaced. Most drivers don't realize that modern vehicles don't fail in the old mechanical way. They communicate. Today's cars constantly monitor systems and generate diagnostic trouble codes, DTCs, when something falls outside expected parameters, even if the issue is minor or momentary. According to a recent driver survey, more than half of drivers find dashboard warning lights confusing, and over a third admit they ignore them entirely. Not because nothing is wrong, but because the signals are complex and often misread. What feels like an immediate problem is very often the car responding to data it can't interpret, not a physical breakdown. Before reaching for tools, parts, or a shop, it's important to understand what the car thinks just happened. If learning how your car actually thinks helps you make calmer, smarter decisions, consider subscribing. What a reset actually means without the tech talk. A reset is not about hiding a problem or wiping something clean. It's a way of re-establishing communication. Modern cars store short-term behavior alongside real conditions. When readings conflict or timing falls out of sync, the system can react as if something is wrong, even when hardware is fine. A reset clears temporary behavior and forces the vehicle to reassess what's actually happening right now. Think of it as giving the system a chance to reorient itself, not forget its history. Memory holds recent habits. Reality is what the sensors see at this moment. Resets bring those two back into alignment. That's why expectations matter. This process restores baseline thinking so the car can evaluate conditions correctly again. It doesn't repair worn parts or fix damage. Used properly, it removes confusion so accurate decisions return. The one reset that covers more than people realize. There is one reset approach that influences more systems than most drivers expect. Not because it's aggressive, but because it restores a shared reference point. Many modules rely on common assumptions: idle position, voltage behavior, airflow expectations. When those assumptions drift, multiple systems respond defensively. Resetting that shared baseline allows each system to recalibrate from the same starting point again. That's why the effect feels wide-ranging. The key detail is safety. This reset doesn't alter permanent data, doesn't overwrite fault history, and can be reversed simply by driving normally. When used correctly, it quiets overreaction rather than erasing warnings blindly. That distinction is critical. Used correctly, this reset can calm more systems than a scan tool because it addresses coordination, not just symptoms. The result is stability returning gradually, not instantly, and that's exactly how it should work. When a car acts broken but isn't, rough idle, odd shifting, warning lights that appear and disappear. These experiences feel mechanical, but they're often behavioral. Modern vehicles constantly adjust to patterns, traffic style, throttle habits, temperature swings, short trips. Over time, those adjustments can stack in unhelpful ways. The car isn't failing, it's adapting too far in one direction. When conditions change, the system keeps reacting based on old assumptions. That's when behavior feels wrong even though nothing is damaged. This is common, and it doesn't mean you did anything wrong. Many drivers experience it without realizing what's happening under the surface. Recognizing this difference matters because it determines whether the next step should be replacement or correction. Once you understand that adaptation can misfire, the idea of performance-focused resets starts to make sense. Resetting behavior, not part. Modern vehicles don't just operate, they adapt. Over time, they observe driving patterns, environmental conditions, and how different systems respond to repeated situations. This learning improves efficiency and comfort, but it can also work against the driver when those patterns no longer match how the vehicle is being used. When that happens, the car may feel inconsistent or unresponsive even though the hardware is functioning correctly. Resetting behavior focuses on clearing those learned responses so the system can reassess current conditions accurately. This is where many unnecessary repairs begin. When behavior feels off, parts often get blamed first. Sensors are replaced because response seems delayed or irregular, even though the sensor was doing exactly what it was taught to do. Installing new components without addressing stored behavior frequently leads to the same symptoms returning. The issue wasn't the part, it was the adaptation behind it. That's how money gets wasted chasing symptoms instead of understanding cause. Correcting learned behavior first creates clarity. Once adaptations are removed, Genuine faults become easier to identify because they're no longer hidden behind compensation. This approach reduces guesswork, shortens diagnosis time, and makes repairs purposeful rather than reactive. By addressing behavior before hardware, drivers avoid unnecessary spending and gain better insight into how their vehicle actually responds. If this kind of clarity helps you make smarter repair decisions, consider subscribing. The reset that changes how the car feels to drive. When a reset is done properly, the most noticeable change isn't horsepower or speed. It's composure. The car feels calmer. Acceleration becomes more even. Gear changes stop feeling hesitant, delayed, or awkward. Steering input feels more consistent. These changes happen because multiple systems are no longer correcting against outdated internal expectations. Over time, vehicles build behavior profiles based on past driving patterns, temperature changes, traffic conditions, and sensor feedback. When those patterns no longer match current use, the car begins compensating unnecessarily. That compensation is what drivers often describe as something feels off. A reset removes that confusion and allows systems to make decisions based on real-time conditions again. This improvement is about predictability, not performance gains. The vehicle feels easier to control because it no longer second-guesses itself. Inputs produce expected responses instead of delayed reactions. That sense of smoothness only appears when the mechanical foundation is healthy. A reset does not strengthen worn parts or disguise damage. It simply allows functioning components to coordinate correctly. When airflow, fuel delivery, transmission behavior, and idle control agree with one another again, the driving experience returns to what the car was designed to deliver: stable, controlled, and consistent behavior without constant corrections working in the background. Why warning lights don't always mean danger. Warning lights often cause anxiety because many drivers assume they all mean the same thing. In reality, they serve different purposes. Some alerts signal immediate conditions that need quick attention, while others act as records that something unusual was detected at a specific moment. Modern vehicles are programmed to be cautious. A brief voltage drop, a temporary sensor reading outside its usual range, or a short operating irregularity can trigger a light that stays on even after everything returns to normal. In those cases, the system isn't reporting danger, it's preserving information. Understanding the difference between a one-time event and a repeating condition is key. A single occurrence usually reflects a temporary situation. A light that keeps coming back under similar circumstances points to something that continues to happen. Clearing stored data doesn't remove real problems. It removes old context so the system can evaluate current conditions accurately. If a light returns after stability is restored, that repetition matters because it confirms an ongoing issue. This approach doesn't downplay risk or encourage ignoring warnings. It helps separate urgency from awareness. When drivers understand what alerts represent, decisions become calmer and more deliberate. Fear-driven reactions fade, and real problems stand out more clearly. Trust grows when warning lights are interpreted correctly instead of treated as immediate threats. When resetting is the wrong move, resets have a purpose, but they are not appropriate in every situation. There are clear moments when using one is the wrong choice and can make things worse. Active overheating, visible fluid loss, burning smells, loud knocking, slipping transmission behavior, or sudden power loss point to physical problems that need direct attention. In these cases, the vehicle is not confused, it is warning you about real conditions. Clearing stored information does not protect the car. It removes valuable context that helps identify what's actually happening. Using a reset during an active mechanical issue can create a false sense of relief. The car may seem calmer for a short time, but the underlying problem continues to develop. That temporary improvement can delay proper diagnosis and increase the risk of damage. This isn't about scare tactics or avoiding simple solutions. It's about applying the right tool at the right time. Resets are designed to correct learned behavior and misinterpretation, not to override genuine faults. Responsible ownership means recognizing limits. When physical symptoms are present, the correct response is investigation, not erasure. Knowing when to stop and address the true cause protects reliability, prevents higher repair costs, and keeps safety intact. That judgment, understanding when a reset helps and when it doesn't, is what separates informed decisions from risky shortcuts that lead to long-term problems. Teaching the car after you reset it. After a reset, the vehicle doesn't instantly return to perfect behavior. Instead, it enters a relearning phase where the system rebuilds its internal reference points. During this time, the car may feel unfamiliar. Idle may rise or dip slightly. Gear changes can feel different than before. Throttle response might not feel as smooth right away. These changes often concern drivers, but they don't signal a problem. They indicate that the system is recalibrating itself based on current conditions rather than old assumptions. How you drive during this period plays a direct role in how well that recalibration completes. Gentle acceleration, steady cruising, and consistent braking allow the system to gather clean, stable data. Abrupt inputs or aggressive driving push the system to learn under stress, which can delay stabilization and lead to uneven behavior. This phase isn't about testing performance, it's about allowing balance to return. Many drivers assume a reset failed because they expect immediate improvement. In reality, the adjustment period is part of the correction. Once the system finishes relearning, responses become more predictable and smooth again. Giving the vehicle time to settle ensures that improvements hold over the long term instead of fading after a short drive. The small tool that helps without replacing knowledge. Basic code readers can be extremely useful, but only when they're treated as sources of information rather than instant solutions. Their real value isn't in clearing warnings, it's in explaining why a system reacted in the first place. A code doesn't tell you what to replace, it tells you what condition the vehicle detected at a specific moment. That difference matters. Many drivers assume a code equals a failed part, but in reality, it often points to a temporary situation that triggered a response. Clearing information without understanding it usually leads to confusion when the same warning returns later. Used properly, these tools help you separate one-time events from repeating patterns. They allow you to confirm whether behavior corrected itself or if something continues to occur under the same conditions. That clarity changes how decisions are made. Instead of guessing or replacing parts based on fear, drivers gain context. Context reduces unnecessary spending and prevents chasing symptoms that don't represent real problems. A code reader doesn't replace judgment or experience, it supports them. When information is used thoughtfully, repairs become deliberate rather than reactive. You stop acting under pressure and start evaluating situations logically. Over time, that approach saves both time and money while building confidence. The tool itself is simple, but the advantage comes from how it's used. Calmly, patiently, and with understanding rather than urgency. Final thought: why this one habit changes how you own a car. Learning when and how to use a reset changes the way you relate to your vehicle. Warning lights no longer trigger instant fear or rushed decisions. Instead of reacting emotionally, you pause, assess, and let information guide your next step. That shift alone prevents many unnecessary repairs. When you understand that not every alert means failure, stress drops and confidence grows. The car stops feeling unpredictable because its responses begin to make sense. You recognize patterns, know when to wait, and know when action is truly required. Ownership becomes calmer and more intentional. Decisions are based on clarity rather than pressure, and that clarity saves both time and money over the long run. A reset isn't about shortcuts or avoiding responsibility. It's about understanding how modern vehicles think and responding appropriately. That awareness transforms frustration into control, and confusion into confidence. If learning how to think through car problems calmly and confidently helps you, consider subscribing for more practical guidance like this.